Welcome, everyone. I missed you last week. So, today marks the beginning of April and our theme of awakening, enlightenment, spiritual awakening, waking up, whatever you choose to call it. And if you're here watching this video today, this is the call for liberation. This is an opportunity for you to really transcend your life. It's not only to enhance what's already there, it's to eliminate what's holding you back from greatness. And one of the most important things to understand about this is the first step. If you're trying to really have any change make drastic impact in your life, you need to understand that it doesn't matter what you do, no matter what you try. What fundamentally is important is who is doing it. And that's the real purpose of spirituality, of meditation. It's this intangible search. It's this inward yearning for more that we all have, but we often express this in an external fashion. We try to fill our lives up with experiences and people and different substances, whatever you really seek. It's one of those things that your world doesn't feel as uplifted until you're doing something externally outside you. And we need to see this as temporary, and in its very essence, that type of fulfillment will never fully satisfy you. And that's where this inward search comes in. That's where we have, these midlife crises where we don't know what we are, we don't know what we want, we're not happy, we still feel that there's something missing, that deep yearning for more. Completeness, love, whatever you choose. Everyone has this in their own different and unique way, but it's still that sense that there's something separate and missing. And most people do carry this out in a materialistic fashion. And there's others that also take the spiritual search, the one that you can't, you stop looking outwards and you start looking inwards. You start questioning things. And again, this is the first step, really, this process of discernment, establishing yourself as the observer. And I'm going to get into the specifics in just a moment. But again, we need to understand that life and meditation and everything that you experience, none of it really matters or means anything if you don't know who or what it is that's experiencing it. That's the real trick of the trade here. And this is the moment where, if these types of things kind of rile up emotion or a lot of thought within you, I need you to really just start to question everything in your experience. And I know it's a big task and a big burden to put on someone, but you should be questioning because you're curious. It doesn't need to be a serious, straining, intense journey, intense, tribulation and trialsome adventure. It's simply questioning like we used to when we were little, you know? And a lot of what we're going to get into today in terms of discerning and establishing ourselves as this distant, silent observer within our experience is to open your world to the reality that's always present, but overlook the subtleties of beauty at every moment that we have. And again, it's that search of who is looking, who is experiencing, who's listening to these words, who's watching this screen, who's sensing, who's that perceiving being that we all call and experience as I. So that's kind of where we get into today. So, excuse me, quite parched. Now, I have a little diagram to help. Now, I want to try to get it so there's no reflection. And the most important thing about this is it's to really understand that these are the phases of, the breakdown of our existence in its very simplistic form. We have the I, in which we all experience and know as ourselves. But when you start to really look at what this I is, just see it as that just window of awareness. It's just that being that knows itself because we're existing, we're simply being, we're here, we're present. That's how we really recognize it. But the problem is our experience and how we're conditioned, or what some people know as programming. It's really just those imprints of others. I like to see it as when we're littles, we're a dry sponge, and the habits of your family, those people around you, your environment, it's just like water. And when we're a dry sponge, we soak up that liquid indiscriminately. It could be dirty or clean, and we all get a mix. You can't avoid it because you're born. You're destined to be conditioned, because we learn how to people from the people around us. We don't know what we're doing when we're little. We're looking at everyone, just absorbing information. So understand that the next step that we're getting into isn't a personal attack. It's just, this is how reality works, and we need to wake up from this trap, or we're going to continue to live a life of chaos and suffering. So this this base being that we all feel, what you are before you're named and before you hold on to the beliefs and identities, it becomes really misconstrued and connected with the internal world, this internal space. And we can think about it almost like this, where, your body is this circle. And from here, that same dot right here, that's you. You're in this body. You're this being that's able to sense and perceive and control this little vehicle that we call a physical form. But when we're raised in this world, in our current society and times, we are conditioned and led to believe that we are this body, that we are separate from all of life. And in its very essence, we experience it when we're little. We know it to be true in our hearts, that we're not. We're not separate from one another. We're all connected. We're all just life. We're all just beings playing in this game called experience. And because we identify with this internal space, all this stuff right in here, because we identify with that so strongly, we not only, I guess you could say, manifest this internal space into the external world, but everything that we perceive gets misconstrued and misconceived, and essentially just misperception of what reality really is. And in this sense, this image is drawn in one direction, but as we can see, because of this influence, it's actually a two-way street. So even the words that I'm telling you, you may not fully comprehend them because you're listening to your thoughts telling you that that's not real, that's not true. And what I'm asking you to do today is to question those thoughts. It's to look at those habits that you have. It's to look at those impulses that come up, those things that take your attention. Really start to question and look at those. And that's where we get into this process of discernment. It's a revealing what you are by removing what you're not. So when you're given instructions today, like look at your thoughts, look at the emotions, look at the sensations, see them as other. Fundamentally, see them as other. Don't see them and attach and identify yourself as them. That's the most important thing. And I like to use the saying, imagine you're a cat or a dog looking at birds and squirrels outside of a window. You are your being, your awareness is that animal looking at these thoughts and emotions and sensations that are the birds and squirrels. Distance yourself from them. And there's really two ways you can go about this route. You'll come to recognize the words I say as truthful if you, A, question thoroughly. Do what's recommended in question. Simply question the thoughts, question their validity, question their truth, question their identity. Simply ask them. You use your internal voice all the time, do you not? Or seemingly so, So everything that you can perceive fundamentally cannot be you. So that's a trick of the trade. And I like to imagine it like a cartoon. You have that little, the angel and the little devil on, either side. And in the cartoons, it's always a conversation. They're just chatting, and the main character is always just silent, watching. Now, if that intrigued you, replay that statement, because that actually can lead you to and yields very promising findings if you question that and simply try to put yourself in the shoes of that cartoon character and how your own thoughts and self interact in such a way. Now, again, the whole purpose of this is to create space. It's really just to create an opportunity. That's what a practice of meditation is. That's what these sit downs are for, is to give you the opportunity to witness these things firsthand, that they're not just words, that you can come to experientially know exactly what I'm talking about. And from there, it's the process of liberation. You start peeling back those layers and you recognize your true power, that you are the true creator of thought. Because what we'll discover today, it's your affection, that which what you choose to entertain, that gives it life. So if you can, just relax. Close your eyes. Really just make sure you're in a comfortable position. And per usual, we will be starting with our bell taps and an Om. Technically 3 Oms. Feel free to join at home. With each tap of the bell, allow yourself to exhale and let go. And let go of the tension. Let go of the past and future. And simply be. When we sit and practice this art, this tool we all call meditation, you must understand it is not a doing. It's simply being. Sitting, listening, observing. However, we are knowing of our position. We've come to the place and space that we are this observer, this unchanging presence. Whether we are in the walking and waking state or in dream, we still perceive our sense of the world from a base of I, from me. And that is the focus of meditation, the meditator itself. We must all come to experience and witness ourselves as this. And in truth, we always have. But the beauties of life are the subtleties often overlooked. Whether you were in a fad, an era of phase, or certain things caught your desire, your action, your energy and time, We must see that these are temporary, coming and going, like the clouds, like the seasons. And as we perceive time, but even then, what goes beyond it all? The changing of experience, the perception of time. These things, these temporary things, what goes beyond it all? Well, you've been living it your entire existence. I, me, that sense of self has never changed. Only what you attach and identify to it has changed. But this I, this root of being, is our anchor to the divine. The phrase, I searched for God and found myself, and searched for myself and found God. Such a powerful statement when you really look at what we are, look at what all is. But we cannot see this clearly when we identify with our emotions and our sensations and our mind and thoughts. Our imagination has been our friend of creativity, our paintbrush of expression. But in our own loneliness and isolation, we separate ourselves from the world and believe this imaginary friend to be our own, this being we call our name, this identity we hold on to, in which all beliefs and offenses and compliments are recognized. But it is like a colored lens changing the color of your light. When you're angry, the flashlight turns red. When you're excited, it turns blue, gleeful and purple, sad, yellow. It doesn't matter the color. One must recognize the simplicity of such statements. What does it represent? Allow yourself to let go of these beliefs and thoughts and to observe indiscriminately, dispassionately. For the answers have always been there. What we are, what you are, is beyond time. How many moments have you experienced where hours flew by like minutes? How many of you have been in the flow where effortless movement spontaneously arose? Those in athletics or involved in music or art, this effortless expression of creativity flows and stems from us. And when we simply let go of doing, allow ourselves to be, we express this effortless nature of our being. And that is the goodness, the love, the creation, the growth, the connections that grow and stem from this avenue of expression. We must understand it's our conditionings, the dirty water we soaked up through our sponge of being, that holds us back, these beliefs, these assumptions we assert over reality, as if you know all the answers. I know nothing, but that which I have experienced has shown me the truth of this world. Lay down your identity. Allow it to die before you physically leave this place. And come to know these words as true, for life has not begun for you yet. This imaginary game of individuality, this imaginary game of loneliness and separation. Life is filled with paradoxes, and the keys are right before our eyes, and this key for your own being is separation. Separate yourself from the idea that you are alone. Separate yourself from the idea that it is just you experiencing this world. Separate yourself from the idea that these thoughts that you hear within your head are real, and come to understand that they are no different than the sounds you hear outside your physical body. Come to know that your emotions are simply a perception. Like an antenna, we can perceive this world on levels of more than just mind and thought, but of true being and connections of the heart. That these sensations, they do not dictate your existence, that you can rise above what some call addiction, that you can rise above the attachment to anything outside of you. You were born with everything you need in this life. That was your gift in this world. However, we're all in this race of life and reincarnation, this cycle, this wheel, coming and going in form. Like a race, we're all trying to open a door with keys, an infinite ring. One comes, one goes, one comes, one goes. But the first step to true liberation from this cycle of suffering is to look inward and realize you are the key. It is not outside of you. It is where you are looking from currently. It is from what you are listening from right now. Silent, loving, an empty space yet filled with light and love and peace and calm. It's always been you. And in fact, this ground of being is not just yours, for we all share the same ground of I and me. In moments like this may be easily perceived. You may be able to hear the words and instantly know and recognize your own truth. Others will need reminding, and there's nothing wrong with that. Simply look at your thoughts, simply look at your emotions, simply look at these sensations and question their origin. Well, why? Who does that sound like? Where does that come from? Well, is that true or an assumption? You must give yourself the distance, the space, and like you experience in life, you will live, have an impulse for something, and if a distraction comes, you will forget about it. You will no longer feel that impulse, that itch. For the mind, the awareness, for as we currently stand in our immature states, teenage-like adolescence in our spiritual sense, we dismiss, we ignore the signs, we believe ourselves to know truth in everything. We listen to the loudest emotion or thought or sensation, and we actually live lives jumping from loud noise to loud noise within us. This is not life. That is the roller coaster of personhood. What I offer you here is a chance to get off the ride and to dictate your own adventure and journey. Seemingly so, flow, be. But you must look, you must diligently and genuinely question, from a place of love and curiosity, for a desire to know truth. What transforms desire into aspiration is your motive and goal. Do you seek to know the truth, or do you seek to serve yourself? One must understand that even if you seek to do good in this world, all good turns to evil. One must see this, for the gunas, the trinity of goodness, are good qualities and desires to help and lift up and to change our passion, which holds us in emotion, a slave to its call, or dullness, the ignorance of inactivity and sloth. They are intertwined and interconnected. The good often don't recognize that you cannot change anyone. We can only change ourselves. The passionate fail to see any good, and the dull lack passion. Therefore, their potential for good and action is minimal. But those that are delusional that you can rise above these three, you must let them go to rise above them. You cannot do anything with these modes of distraction. See yourself as a silent witness. When a thought comes, let it go. Focus on yourself, the sense of me. You cannot silence your thoughts through action and willpower. You silence them by removing your affection and attention. Don't be so distracted. Don't trust your thoughts and emotions. They may serve you when the time is necessary, but you are an abused victim for most. These are things we must recognize. Your thoughts and mind will say and speak to you with sweet words or harsh illusions. But when you are no longer invested in dictating and predetermining your reality, you will no longer determine it. You will see it for as it is. A thought may rise, but give yourself your attention. The subtle sense of me and I, the observer, the experiencer, the meditator itself. Do not hold on to the past experiences and memories, for they hold you back from witnessing that which is right before you. This glorious kingdom, the space within our own being. You are capable of such great things in this world, but you currently invest all of your energy in a dream, in your imagination, in this inner world in which you perceive and think it to be just your own. When you awaken from this slumber, you will see and feel and perceive that which is inexpressible, but you will know and observe the connection between us all. You must recognize that which can be perceived is not you. If you are hearing a thought, it is addressing itself to you. Because with your attention, you give it life. Your power of manifestation and creation animates the animated less. We give birth from imagination. That's what you need to recognize. You are creating your own suffering. So end it. You are the creator of it. Simply stop investing yourself into it and it will die on its own. For it is like a parasite living off of your power, living off of your being. But again, when we predetermine reality, we determine it for ourselves. If you full-heartedly believe your thoughts to be you, then you are trapped. Until you become courageous enough to question them and to stop falling for the same tricks and traps, chaos and dramas and traumas, then you will forever be their slave. You must mature. You must grow. Realize that there is so much more to life than what we currently recognize and are born and conditioned to believe. If you want to take the questioning route, by all means, it is the most rewarding. It will yield you challenges, but with guidance and listening to life, you will be fine, for life is the greatest teacher. But if you lack the courage now, and you feel a change in your experience of meditation, or if you feel an experience and shift and change in your life from these listenings and sittings, then adhere to the words and guidance. For all I can do is point you. You have to walk the walk. But if you stay steady in the direction in which I am pointing, you will reach the goal. You will come to the realizations from your own experiential knowing. And that is what I offer to you. Question your thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Observe yourself as the witness of them all. See that there is a difference between the thought, the suggestion, the imagination, and that which knows it. Listen to how your thoughts speak to you from a place of otherness. Recognize that emotions come and go, sensations come and go, and thought itself comes and goes. You let down all beliefs and judgments and assumptions when you close your eyes for sleep. So do it here. Let go. Simply rest within yourself, your own being, and you will see your thoughts are not real. They are only as real and valid as you make them and determine them to be. But realize they are limited and can never be on par with what you are. You're beyond knowledge. You're beyond temporary and changing facts. You're beyond time. The subtleties of life are right before our eyes. Simply look, silently watch from this place of observation. And you will come to see all which you are not, and this discerning factor will liberate you. For you will take off the jackets the layers of beings and identities and idols and beliefs and assumptions. And you'll see just how quick your inner space quiets itself when you rest. Know yourself as the silent witness to life. Keep the questions. Who is the experiencer? Who am I? Who is the meditator? In the forefront of your existence. And the more earnestly and genuinely you look from this place in space, the more you will move into it and make it your home. Letting go of the old illusory self and realizing it was just a dream. Moving forward in a life simply unknown currently, filled with love and light and union. Allow yourself to simply let go. Come back to this beautiful expression of ourself that we call life. Alrighty. And that concluded the meditation for this morning. All that I can really say that hasn't been said already is simply sit and just witness and experience life from this knowing position of just watching, silent, just perception, sensation, perceiving everything at once. Life reveals itself to us the more we stop asserting ourselves over it. It's so funny that the saying less is more has been valid for so long, and it's been known in different languages in different ways. But when we stop getting in the way of ourselves, life just opens up. I mean, it really is effortless. You don't need to do anything. What's difficult for us is we're so caught up in doing. We're so caught up in holding on to those thoughts and emotions, eating them up, that we live with so much tension that those thoughts and emotions and sensations feel so intimate. They feel like us. They're like people. I've legitimately had people get offended and mad at me when telling them these things aren't real because I feel it. I feel it's real. No, I hear it. It is real. It's my thought. But there's been moments in your life where you haven't listened to a thought. Like in the meditation, there's been moments in life when you've had the urge and impulse to do something and a distraction came and you completely forgot about it. There's been moments in your experience where you have literally fast forwarded through time from your experience of it. Your 20 minutes in reality was 2, 3, 4 hours. But it's just called being in the zone. We need to be courageous in this search. We need to understand that there is more to life than what we were taught in these institutions of school and university. That there is more to existence than what we currently know. And the real problem with eliminating sciences and art and music from our education, at least here in America, is the fact that we lose that natural intuition that there is more than just thought, that there's more than just a simple emotion, that there's states and levels of your existence that you can literally just let go and just purely express yourself and just purely be, and there's nothing going on but just existing. Like when we used to play on the playground, you just played. You got out there and you just let go. And we can see it as, kind of like a tree or a sapling, right? When a tree grows and it's really young, it's pliable. You can bend it. That's the conditioning and the influence of us as children. But as we get older, it's seemingly so that it seems more rigid. But in truth, it's all just inertia. It's the fact that you keep investing this dream, you keep investing yourself into this play that doesn't exist, but you believe it to be. So it is your world, it is your reality. And then there's, beings like myself that tell you it's not real and that you can experience this firsthand. And you identify with the thoughts that tell you you can't, or you're not worthy, or it took him X amount of years or days or times meditating or hours meditating. It doesn't matter about quantity, it's about quality. If you trust in these words, you will come to know everything and more. Because you'll also come to realize that a lot of what you experience can't even be expressed. Allow yourself to trust in your true self. Know that there is something greater. Those moments that have been perfect timing, those moments of just like, hey, don't do that, and you don't do something, and you see something bad happen to someone else along those lines. Or, you know, when you do something, that mistake, and it's that voice that just kind of consoles you. We need to understand that the destructive, the internal phenomena that we experience that tries to separate us from life, that tries to isolate us and hurt us, that's negative, that is a product of your environment and it is not you. Emotions and thoughts are perceived effortlessly, but in their reality of how they actually operate, it's more like clouds. I say it all the time, but but you need to see that it's like a cloud. It's your energetic field, and this is where really we've come to know that our Western science is proving more and more and more as each day what they've been saying in the East since the beginning of writing people. That's the real severity and importance of what I'm trying to express to you. And with this month of April, that's the real point, is to, if you want to wake up, then by all means wake up. I am here to help you with that. And this month is really geared towards waking people up. It's a time for being reborn. It's spring. Things are coming back. So I want you to come back. I want you to realize what you really are, how life really is, and ultimately your potential. Life and what you currently know as happy and pleasure and joy as happiness is like baseline to what we really feel when we let go of all the BS, when we grow beyond our imagination. And it's not like it goes away. It's just the fact that you recognize you don't need it as much as you think you do. Really, you rarely need it. Rarely need it. Life is a spontaneous flow all the time. And all this process of spirituality and kind of questioning and discerning and establishing yourself as the observer in this first process is a cleaning of your pipes. It's like almost like an automatic faucet, right? Anytime you put your hand, anytime you're awake and living, that water's going to run. It's just going to flow. But the problem is your pipes are currently dirty because they're so filled up with conditioning and assumptions and beliefs. And if you let those finally just get cleaned through this simple looking, it'll happen on its own. You'll find that the flow of life is cleaner, it's purer, it feels better, you know? Because sometimes we need to recognize that we don't know everything. And that with birth, we're destined to die in form. And what I want you to experience and recognize firsthand is This isn't the end of our life. Life is outside of the duality of birth and death. Fundamentally, it is. And when we experience this, you come to realize that you can know the I in the waking state, in the dream state, and you can come to know yourself in those moments of deep sleep. All I can do is point. You're the teacher. You're the problem. You're the solution. It's like you're your own student here. And if you don't really want truth, and you don't really want to end the pain and suffering, then you're never gonna. You're just gonna keep repeating things over and over. And the issue that lies with this is we're all running out of time for some really big changes that are happening. And we can either have this be a experience that is a pleasurable ride, or it can be a really heavy break. It's one of those things where you can enjoy the ride, or you can resist it every inch of the way. And when we really just let go of these things we hold on so tightly to, by simply questioning, why are we holding on to that? We realize that we hold on to a lot of things we don't need, purely because it's what we're used to. And just like any aspects of growth, it'll feel difficult at first. But when you keep doing it, that consistency, you get into your stride. And like I said in the meditation, you move out. You move out from this identity of being, of knowing yourself as this thought and emotion and sensation and this past and that pain and this family and that tribe and that nation, and you rise above it. And it's not a way it's not meant to be a nose up statement. It's meant to be you rise above it because you grow up, you mature. And just like when you learn to tie your shoes, you don't need someone to do it for you. You just do it. You create your own culture. You don't just consume it. You don't assume anything you seek to discover. You don't judge, you see with sympathy and empathy because you remember what it's like. You don't force things upon someone because you know that they can only change themselves. It's this process of simply being, because the only thing that you can worry about in this life is you. So discover what you really are and awake to a world that you haven't even conceived of yet. I promise you, it's the best investment. It's the best choice. Everything gets better. And when things are bad, they're not as bad as they used to be because you understand what's going on. You can say when you understand who's playing the game, you can actually start to play the game. And that's how I like to see the spiritual search in this process of development that we all are going through. That until we understand who's playing the game, it doesn't matter if you think you know the rules. It doesn't matter if you think you know how it should go. And really, when you recognize that you're a wave on its way to the shore, it's still part of the ocean. I wish you a excellent week, month, life, and I will catch you next weekend as we expand upon this exploration and journey of awakening. Thank you for joining me. Namaste, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. What's good?